Okay, here we go. Maybe. There we go. Welcome to Order Militaris Radio TV, and we're lifelong Catholics. And what we do is all for free and for our love of Jesus Christ and for our Holy Mother, the Church. We'll defend our Holy Mother, the Church. I want to first apologize if we look weird and out of focus and out of sync. Skype is playing their usual games with us, so that's that. And we're doing a show on the Supreme Court ruling from yesterday. And welcome Brother Alexis to the show.
Thank you, AJ, for having me on Order Militaris Radio TV. We do a lot on this channel. We could do a lot more with supporters, and I want to thank the recent supporters giving $10 every time they see a show, which is about the average of what our support is on this channel. So no one can accuse us for doing it for money. But all your donations to Order Militaris Radio TV go for equipment, and so this is one day you can see that we don't have we don't even have lighting. We don't have mics. We don't have any fancy cameras that you just don't, we have the cheap here. So any donation you make would be more than appreciated.
Yeah, so it was about 11 or so in the morning, maybe 12, around there. That news just broke and everybody erupted on Twitter. Roe vs. Wade was finally overturned after 50 years.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I don't think I'd ever see the day. I never believed that Catholics could buck the Masonic system of America. Now, it wasn't a complete victory, but it's a near complete victory because 6 justices of the Supreme Court, all Catholic, decided to put on the little Catholic thinking cap and decide to say something that was honest after 50 years of absolute lying by every other kind of justice that ever heard the case. And they set some really important principles in American jurisprudence that are going to affect a lot of aspects of law, I think.
Yeah. And the main one was there's writings of Justice Thomas, the real Catholic justice. He wrote so many opinions and decisions in that it now can affect going after birth control and all contraceptives and getting those out of the federal whatever law. And so I was like, did you just do that? That's just like surprising that.
And there was 2 votes for this decision. One was on the decision itself, and one was on overturning Roe vs. Wade. To put aside any doubt that the precedent of Roe vs. Wade stands. So even in the way they did it. But I think the most wonderful thing that they did is they held off publishing this decision to nearly high noon on the solemnity of the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty clear that this was an act of religious piety in the sense that we Catholics admit the truth of things. There's one thing that many hate about us Catholics, that we'll tell you the truth, unvarnished, unchanging, everlasting truth. We're hated for it, but we do that because we are founded by the truth, Jesus Christ. And if there's any Protestants that listen to the channel, take note, these justices were all Catholic. And we might have some of the most corrupt clergy currently in our history, but that doesn't stop the fact that the Holy Spirit is moving among our members, and even laymen can shine in a way that brings back memories of some of your great ancestors and the things they did too, who were all Catholics.
Yeah.
So it's just an absolutely wonderful day, and I agree with what people are saying. June should be called Pro-Life Month, and the Feast of the Sacred Heart should be celebrated as the Feast of the Innocents.
Yeah.
The holy innocence that Christ saved as a child, he had saved the children of America again.
Yeah. And then we have these the people who do the pro-life marches and everything, and like, what do we want to march to now in January?
I think they should dump January, and now they have to move it to June and celebrate the triumph.
Yeah.
We can't sit on our laurels. We have to rub this victory in. Okay. Like Christ won on Calvary, and we have to fight that battle in our own lives. The Supreme Court justices have handed this down. So I want to point out the important juridical principles they have underlined that you can use in almost any battle to restore sanity to the United States. The first principle is a legal argument has to be based on the history of legal tradition in the English system. Their majority opinion goes back to legal opinions in the 14th century from manuals on law written by Catholic scholars at Oxford and Cambridge, great Catholic philosophers and ethicists of their age. They went beyond the French Revolution. They went beyond the foundation of the Masonic Lodge. They're saying it's something extremely powerful in this decision, that you can't interpret the United States Constitution on the basis of the morality of some sect that's trying to run the world today.
Mm-hmm.
You have to base it on the morality that the founding fathers of this country accepted, who were not Masons. And the few who were Masons were members of whom a Masonic logic was nothing like today. It wasn't opposed to Christ. It hadn't yet been infiltrated by the Illuminati. So this is going to be applicable in every case. The good judges out there on the federal benches and the district and circuit and appellate courts are going to run wild with this. Now they can open up all their ancient legal manuals and say, what was considered right and wrong back then? This is how we should consider right and wrong. And the first thing that this demolishes is the whole Marxist critique to reinterpret every word, to reinterpret every right, to reinterpret every law. This smashes the concept of the United States Constitution as a living document where the meaning changes. This just totally destroys globalism. This completely undermines the Rothschild project to take over America.
Mm-hmm.
And this is making all the left-wing Marxists and especially atheist Jews scream like banshees. They're just going all insane. And they're saying things that are the opposite, obviously, of the truth. They're saying this smashes free speech. This smashes the right of self-choice. This smashes the right you have over your own body, And that's their first principle, and that was absolutely stunning. And as a scholar of medieval texts, I'm absolutely delighted. I think this is like sanity, because if you read the great medieval writers like Thomas Aquinas and Bonaventure, for example, one page of what they wrote in a work of 1,000 pages has more truth in it than you find in 5 doctorate theses at the Catholic U of America. Excuse me to the faculty, but that's the way it is. So that's tremendous. The second is they've defined what right is. They have basically said that you cannot claim the Constitution defends anything as a right which in English legal tradition was considered a crime. So you can't make the right wrong and the wrong right. You can't say evil is good and good is evil. You can't say the Constitution imposes that. See, this is the game they've been playing since the Second World War here in the United States. Well, the Constitution is for liberty. Well, liberty means that I can do anything I want. So if I want to do evil, I have the right to do that. That was the basic argument pushed by all the liberals, the Marxists. Mm-hmm. Supreme Court said the Constitution does favor liberty, but liberty from dishonesty, criminality, and immorality. Therefore, if it was considered wrong in the past, it would be, it's constitutionally, it can be considered wrong today. So you can't claim you have a right to it. So now they've just completely thrown away all the games being played with the US Constitution. Oh, I have a right to transgender education for my child. I have the right to change my sex. I have the right to do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. And don't you? I have the right that you give me a cake that celebrates my opinions. It's all gone now. They can all go, well, arguing from the precedent in Dobbs versus Jackson, rights must be considered to be doing something honest, not something that was always considered wrong. And so that is, it is so tremendous. It turns American jurisprudence on its head. It totally smashes Masonic jurisprudence. It gets rid of juridical positivism that America has been under since the 1890s, when it was imposed as a legal principle where a thing is not right or wrong unless the law says so. Well, the current law says so. That's not how it works now. Now, according to the Supreme Court, if it was immoral in the 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, then you can't argue that when the Constitution was written and approved, that all of a sudden it became right and you have the right to do it. No, that's not what the Constitution has meant. That's not what our founding fathers intended. So it's just tremendous. I'm speechless. When they released that little brief back in May, I was just absolutely aghast at it. This is so good. Okay.
Then, what, 13 states plus a good number after, during the night, all outlawed abortion. There's like 13 plus 4 during the nights. And so, and I mean, they had it ready to go in their constitution, in their law, that once, if and ever the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, abortion would be outlawed, being criminalized in their states.
So, this was absolutely wonderful. A lot of states had that. Some recently got rid of it. Rhode Island had a clause like that in the Constitution. They got rid of it about 5 years ago. But this shows something tremendous too. You can't say that anyone in the pro-life movement merited this decision. None of those Supreme Court justices were part of the pro-life movement. None of them protested. None of them attended rallies, as far as I know. And it's not like there was a letter writing campaign to any of them. They just drew on the truth. They're spiritist Catholics. And this shows you that Christ is our King. That when he wants something, he gets it. It doesn't matter how corrupt a nation can be. Yeah. He still rules over hearts, and his sacred heart triumphs. And this is absolutely stupendous. And it's a testimony to the Christians in all those states who made sure that those laws would remain and waited in hope for the day of victory. Yeah. And this is something that no other religion has. Only Christianity has hope for the future. The Marxists just want us to go down and down and down to hell. And you can imagine the spirit these states had fighting against abortion when they couldn't get around Roe vs. Wade, like Texas did with the liability issue. Now they can go all the way. So yep. Wait for the criminalization of the crime of abortion committed by doctors. Isn't 2 states already, they criminalized it?
Yeah, I think it was Mississippi and Alabama.
Wonderful states. God bless them. And other states, I think, are going to follow now, and which it will become. They're going to layer crime upon crime against these doctors. They're going to make it a crime for health insurance companies. They're going to make it a crime of money laundering for banks to finance these centers. I can tell you who's really worried this morning. It's the insurance companies, all the health insurance companies, because if they cover abortion, they are now involved in racketeering to commit homicide on a massive scale. They probably all think none of them slept last night. You can share these health executives, and a lot of liability lawyers are probably going like, I got to decide, abortion liability, because now they can, for example, let's say California says we're going to allow abortion, and Texas has outlawed it. It's a crime. Let's say it's a crime in Texas in a month or so, and the father lives in Texas, the mother lives in California. She won't listen to him. She goes to get an abortion. Guess what? The father can now sue her, the doctor, the hospital, the insurance company for civil liabilities. You deprived me of my son, his whole life, his whole career, all that emotional damage, psychological damage. He could sue the hundreds of millions and multiply that for 1 million parents in all the states where it becomes criminal. No doctor anywhere is going to want to do it. He's going to say, "You bet. I want the father's name down here too." Saying, "I want the grandparents' name," because the parents could sue too for emotional damage. So it's de facto. It's become impossible to get abortion in the United States, or even outside the United States, just because you can always sue for liabilities. U.S. has a very liberal liability clause, so there are lawyers licking their chops this morning, and a lot of people trembling. And let's hope that since they don't have fear of God, they at least have fear of lawyers.
Yeah. Yep. And oh man, and we had the pro-lifers, and all the Catholics celebrating. Most of the Catholics, the liberal ones are, like with Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and all those others saying it was not a good morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
you don't get your child blood drinks this morning. What I'm sorry. It's the whole Malak cult is really in mourning. Isn't that sad? All the satanic church is in mourning. Oh,
and
can't strangle any more babies. Oh, so
yeah.
what were some of the reactions from famous persons, AJ?
So yeah, all the famous persons, everyone from Hollywood, the NBA, music, most of the music industry was up in arms and upset about it. The former WWE wrestler turned congressman, his wrestling name was Kane. He was cheering it on and supporting the Supreme Court. The Barstool sports guy, Dave Portnoy, he was upset about what the Supreme Court did. I mean, he came out hard against all the shot business and everything, and then the famous Jewish lawyer Alan Dershowitz also came out against the Supreme Court, saying it shouldn't have been done. It shouldn't have been done. And yeah,
I did. I saw there was a rather positive statement from the famous Mormon presidential candidate. Oh, what was that? I forget his name.
Romney.
Romney, rather positive, not entirely. Did Trump make a statement?
Yeah, he was very glad about it.
How about Governor DeSantis?
Oh, he was super glad. Right when it happened, he was the first one to put out an awesome statement supporting it and everything.
So It's a wonderful thing. I don't know how exactly jurisprudence works for ex post facto in the United States. Maybe I think that you can't take any retroactive actions, but I'm sure there's a lot of fathers who lost their children going to lawyers this morning and say, "Can I sue for what happened to my kid?" So if you are expecting a child and you fear your spouse or lover or boyfriend or girlfriend is, trying to pressure for an abortion, get legal counsel immediately from a good pro-life lawyer. You have now really strong, whether you're the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the parents, the grandparents, you all have legal claims. You could claim emotional damage. And there never was a reason or need for abortion. Because if you don't want the child, you could always give the child up for adoption. And if you personally didn't want to support the child, then you didn't have to get in bed with your girlfriend. Okay? So this ruling not only defends natural law, it defends natural morality. It's going to get people to think and realize, sex is for having children. If you don't want to have children, you don't have it. Common sense. But once you cross that boundary and you decide to have it, you're responsible, and that responsibility is eternal, because this has to do not with the generation of flesh. This is a human being, and I think you're going to have states go all the way now and define that the human person begins to exist legally in the womb of the mother, and because in the ruling of the Supreme Court, they showed that what was considered potential human life was considered worthy of defense. Well, that was in the Middle Ages, when they didn't even have any knowledge of physiology or biology or human development, which we now do. So if that was the case then, the same moral principle, if we have any scientific evidence that says that's a human person from the moment of conception, must be defended in law as a human person. And this will bring about a profound Christian view of humanity, of life, and responsibility. It's going to bring back a lot more respect for women who are expecting children. I remember when I was little, there was a lot of respect about it. I mean, it was like you held the door open for a woman who was expecting. You took care to be gentle with her and provide her with the best and the comfiest chairs, and not to put her under strain. And oh boy, corporations now are going to have to make sure they give maternity leave early on. As soon as she finds out she's expecting a child, they better, because if they make her do something and she has a miscarriage, going to be murder. And this means that Catholics also have to fight for women's rights in the workplace, because you know what a lot of just greedy capitalists are going to do? They're not going to hire women who are married. And that's just not fair. But if they start doing that, we have to push for higher wages for men who are married, because they have more responsibility. So we Catholics and many Christians and other people of goodwill have been praying and hoping for a long time for this. And God does hear prayer. And I think the fact that this victory came down in the Feast of Sacred Heart shows that he has heard the prayers of many, because we are in a system that we felt that we couldn't do anything about. So.
So this has been great. Battle's not over. It needs to go. The law needs to go all the way to where an abortion, contraception is 100% banned, both state and federal, but also that the little human being in the womb is protected as if you're American citizen giving birth, that little baby in your womb is also a citizen.
Sorry. And we need laws not only to defend the unborn now, we need laws to make it illegal to teach in school that abortion is a right or it's something good. We have to make it legal to say that doing evil is good and doing good is evil. That has to be illegal. That's not part of free speech. That's called DC. And the freedom of speech in the Constitution has nothing to do with the freedom of deceit, okay, or the freedom of calumny, okay? And this is something we need to correct too. It's not just the right to life that has to be corrected in US jurisprudence. Freedom of speech, the whole concept has to be corrected, okay? And then political association should be to defend rights, not to undermine the state. We need laws against all these organizations that have pushed this agenda. We need to crush them legally, financially, and from the point of liability, so they cease to exist. We got to get this kind of ideologic scum out of American political life.
Yep, totally agree. Any last words?
Hope. The United States has been given a new dawn of hope, a chance, second chance. And the United States, we don't think much of it, but the people outside of the United States do. They look to the United States as the light of hope in human liberty. And they should really find it in their Christian faith. But I think this is going to show you that America in all her liberty couldn't save herself. It was the Catholic faith that saved the United States. And this is encouraging Catholics around the world. They're just absolutely thrilled by this. And so you're going to see, I think, Catholic judges all of a sudden break from the Masonic political correctness in many nations and start handing down similar bold rules. And you're going to see politicians and legislatures too, because they're going to say, well, if America can do it and they all think it's wonderful, why should we do anything else? So, you know, International Monetary Fund, you can go stuff your money down someone else's hole. Yep. And a lot of nations are going to say, no, UN, no, you're not going to tell us what's right and wrong anymore, okay? And so I think this is going to start a world revolution against the errors of Russia, against Marxism and Freemasonry.
Yeah. So like we said in the beginning, as you can see, Skype is playing with our cameras and making both our cameras look horrible. So we'll be posting a link to support us, you know, to help us get better equipment, and also see if we can do better with the Skype thing that we use to record these videos. Then also, as you know, we're raising money for drones to help the Ukraine. That will be also put there. So please donate to both. Help us. Be generous. This is Overturned Radio TV signing off. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.